all of these things, but I'll throw a couple in here that I did not have on my list, and then I'll go to my list. I think Andy Cabot has been very good for this district. Yeah, he gets 40% of everything he brings in, but you know what? He brings in a lot of money. I've never voted against Andy Cabot, never, ever. I did vote against a group of attorneys because I disagreed with one, and I was very clear that I was voting against that one, and since it was all one item, I voted no. So much, but I was very glad to hear Mr. Oden comment about the communications forum meeting, which, as a reminder, is coming up next Monday at 5:30 to 7, and I believe on the PDR room?
Correct.
We're in the PDR room for that, and Mrs. Schukert and I are part of that committee. That is perhaps the most important thing that this board will do this year, because we need to earn the respect of our community, our administrators, and our staff. And right now, I think as a board, as a group of 5 people, of which I'm one, we do not have that respect, and we need to earn it as a group, all of us. And that's a very important thing we need to all work on this year. Wireless infrastructure. We had a meeting at the Technology Committee earlier today, and I mentioned already the new website. We also discussed the wireless infrastructure in this building. It was put in 2005, so we're now in our 11th year of the wireless section. If you're a computer user at all, and think back to what websites looked like in 2005, what you were using your computer for in 2005, and what you're using it for today in 2016, you're passing a lot more data, you're spending a lot more time on it, and our network needs to be fixed. So our technology folks are working very, very hard. They've talked to several vendors. They're going to have a number of people come in to give bids. We've already approved the amount, up to $50,000. It's in this year's budget. We're going to increase the bandwidth. We're going to add, for those of you who are technical, we're going from 47 access points to 60 APs, actually 57 APs. We're going to have 3 spare ones left over in case we find dead spots in the building. There are some classrooms that cannot use the Chromebooks because they don't have enough bandwidth in their classroom to actually use them. So these things are, and this is the education side of what we're here to do, and the Technology Committee is focused on one thing, and that is making sure that our students have the infrastructure, the equipment that they need to prepare themselves for jobs that don't exist, which is really an interesting concept. Think about that. The staff and administration, your board members, we are preparing our students today for jobs that don't exist. Because we don't know what jobs are going to exist 20 years from now. I'll bet if you went back 20 years, a number of people in this room are working in things that 20 years ago didn't exist. And 20 years after you graduate from high school, you're only halfway through. Right? So I would love to see this board try to focus on what education really means to the future and what we can do here in Taga Heights to move ourselves up from only 58th best in the state up back to where we belong in the top 10 or so. So I think that concludes my report.
Thank you. Some comments about contacting lawyers and legal expenses. I'm glad that Mrs. Schukert has Tim Sharon's email, and there's several other emails that are very interesting along those lines, and that event of administration and board members trying to prevent me from talking to lawyers is what energized me to really dig in and look at things and discover lots of irregularities and bring it to the authorities' attention. Speaking of attorney fees, Mr. Eric Allen of Allen and Associates contacted me at least, I think, 3 times this week about concerns, including potential dereliction of duty and delays in responding. Mr. Amari wrote an email to the board saying that he was threatening potential legal action because of not fulfilling requested public records request. And Mr. Allen was very concerned about this and wanted the board to make sure that the administration follows board policy 8310, and he suggested that if things are handled by the administration and streamlined, that would reduce legal fees. and that any public records requests that come in, it's only the superintendent under the policy that can release those, so the treasurer and the superintendent should be in on all of those. And it's the person who holds the records, which is the treasurer, to get all the information together and then redact anything that's confidential, put that whole packet together to then get to the superintendent. Certainly not all public records requests have to be reviewed by the lawyer, but if there's anything confidential or concerning, or if it's denied, their case law has to be cited, and that requires legal oversight. The board does not want to be sued because potentially that's a